Hello and welcome to this British Chambers of Commerce UAE Spotlight Roundtable, which we're hosting during Global Trade Month. A warm welcome to you wherever you're joining us from around the world. Good morning if you're in the UK and Europe. Good afternoon if you're in the Middle East, and good evening if you're further afield. You're very welcome to what I hope will be a stimulating discussion about current and future UK UAE trade. It's a very exciting time for Britain's trade and investment links with the UAE. Obviously, in 2021, there was a sovereign investment partnership agreement signed, which has led to a huge level of UAE investment in UK life sciences, also reciprocal investment in other sectors such as health, technology, clean energy, and infrastructure. And of course, we're involved in negotiations, the UK and the Gulf Cooperation Council, which potentially can lead to a free trade agreement between the UAE and the UK. And the UAE is incredibly important as a strategic partner for UK businesses. We know that it is our largest trading partner in the Middle East and one of the fastest growing markets for exports in the world. So all of these are great things we hope to hear much more about in the course of this hour. Firstly, we will have a keynote speech from Khalid Al-Hassami, the Deputy Head of Mission at the UAE Embassy in London. We're delighted to be joined by the very newly appointed Shadow Exports Minister, Afzal Khan MP, who will address us and give us the parliamentary perspective on trade between the UAE and the UK. And then we have a wonderful panel session with some incisive questions around where our future lies in terms of bilateral trade, investment, and other links. We'll be joined by John Summer, the co-CEO of WTA Group, Sawad Al-Hassani, Executive Director and Head of Asset Management Sales at First Abu Dhabi Bank, and Rob Bricker, Country Director for DBT at the British Embassy in Dubai. So wonderful panel, great hour ahead of us. Wonderful range of issues we can get into that matter hugely to all of us. Do remember this event is being recorded and can be watched on demand at a later point. And the aim of our series, of which this is the second, is to provide businesses with insights, advice, answers to fully understand how to trade, what the implications are in trading with key partners and key markets like the UAE. And let me start by really just thanking our event partner, WTA Group, our colleagues at British Chamber of Commerce in Abu Dhabi and the British Chamber of Commerce in Dubai, who were instrumental in helping put this event together. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over now to Khalid Al-Hassami, the Deputy Head of Mission at the UAE Embassy in London, to open the event. Over to you, Khalid.
Thank you, William. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. I'm delighted to be here to welcome you all to this special webinar, a spotlight on the UAE as part of Global Trade Month. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Today, we gather to explore the abundant opportunities that await those who seek to do business in the UAE. We will also gain fascinating insights into the trading relationship between the UAE and the UK. Our great nations share a long history of collaboration in sectors from infrastructure, education to healthcare, and even financial services. I'm excited to reflect on our effective collaboration with you all. The UAE, with its thriving economy and dynamic market, has long been a nexus of international trade. It benefits from a large consumer base, a key geographical position, and a highly educated, well-driven, and ambitious population. These attributes make the UAE an incredible, exciting destination for businesses seeking growth and prosperity. At present, bilateral trade between the UAE and the UK is valued at over £23 billion annually, which serves to underscore the strength of our historic and economic ties. This month marks the second anniversary of the UAE-UK Sovereign Investment Partnership, which saw the UAE invest over £10 billion into sectors such as technology, infrastructure, and energy transition. This agreement was signed on the 16th of September 2021 by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the UAE, and former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. With all eyes on the UAE as COP28 approaches, a real opportunity exists to reshape the international trade landscape by fostering innovation and promoting the trade of green goods and services. And we have been making constant progress. For example, the UAE has demonstrated its commitment to sustainability by pledging to reach net zero emissions by 2050, a historic milestone that was announced at COP26 in Glasgow, and a milestone which has been brought forward by 5 years to 2045. Further, in a region traditionally driven by hydrocarbons, the UAE has emerged as a global leader in renewable energy, with the largest increase in renewable capacity worldwide over the past decade. Over a decade ago, Masdar, a pioneer in clean energy, made a significant investment in the London Array wind farm off the coast of Essex. Today, the London Array is one of the world's largest wind farms, supplying power to over 500,000 homes and reducing carbon emissions by a staggering 925,000 tons each year. This project is a testament to the immense potential of cooperation between our nations in the pursuit of sustainable and eco-friendly solutions. In a recent announcement, the UAE unveiled its intentions to undertake a project expected to triple its carbon capture capabilities. This project aims to permanently store carbon within underground caverns, aligning with its goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2045. This serves as one illustration of the UAE's visionary leadership in our worldwide effort to combat climate change. Today, we will have the privilege of hearing from distinguished panelists who bring a wealth of expertise and insights to our virtual stage. William Bain, who's Head of Trade and Policy at the British Chamber of Commerce, will be leading this panel discussion. And as mentioned, he will be joined by a number of well-established and incredible panelists. And as William mentioned, the UAE Embassy is working hard to ensure that a free trade agreement is signed with the UK. And at the moment, we have just completed, I believe, our 4th round in July and looking forward to our 5th round, hopefully in November, as we see not only with the UAE, but with the GCC. So, ladies and gentlemen, the opportunities before us are boundless. The UAE's commitment to sustainability, coupled with its strategic location and vibrant economy, positions it as a global trade hub of immense importance, both now and into the future. I encourage you all to engage actively in our discussions today as we explore the potential for collaborations, investment, and innovation, developments that I firmly believe will shape the future of global trade. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the webinar. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Khalid. Well, I'm delighted now to be able to welcome Afzal Khan MP to speak. Afzal has been in position for just a few weeks now as Shadow Exports Minister in the Labour opposition front bench. He's a former Lord Mayor of Manchester, a former member of the European Parliament, and he's been the Member of Parliament for Manchester Gorton since 2017. Very quickly after his election, he was appointed as Shadow Minister for Immigration and later held the post of Shadow Foreign Office Minister covering Southeast Asia. He then became Shadow Minister for Legal Aid under Keir Starmer's Shadow Ministry and held that post before his recent well, I will always call it a promotion, those of us who love trade, to the best role in the world of being Shadow Minister for Exports. And he's also Vice Chair of several all-party parliamentary groups, including climate change and food banks. So we're delighted to welcome Afzal, and we'd be delighted to hear from you right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind words, and also thank you for actually having me here today, and I'm looking forward to listening to the many excellent contributions that will take place in the panel. It's a pleasure, of course, for me to join you as Labour's Shadow Minister for Exports. Exports are at the very heart of the UK economy. Last year, our exports of goods and services totaled £815 billion. 11% of UK companies are exporters, and this rises to over 60% when looking at the British Chamber of Commerce members. Small and medium-sized enterprises also make up a huge proportion of our economy, 99.9% of all private sector businesses, employing 16 million people. Unfortunately, economic mismanagement and constantly changing fiscal policies under successive Conservative governments has meant that the UK export industry is not doing as well as it should be. The last time more than 30% of businesses saw increased export sale was at the end of 2018, almost 5 years ago. I'm not here to be all doom and gloom though. The UK derives its richness from its links across the world, and there is no better way to strengthen our global friendships and forge new ones than trade. And what better trade relationship to strengthen than the one the UK has with the UAE? This partnership exemplifies the power of international cooperation, demonstrating how two nations geographically distant but economically connected can benefit from each other's strengths. It's a hugely important country for Britain, with 100,000 British nationals living there. And of course, my two daughters lived there for many years, and many other relatives I have there as well. And then 1.5 million people visit every year. As a Manchester MP, I can't talk about UAE without mentioning that Manchester has become a key hub for UAE investment following the purchasing of Manchester City Football Club back in 2008. And since then, a number of other important investments have taken place in Manchester. For the UK as a whole, it is our 12th largest export market and continues to be a growth market for UK exports. In the first quarter of this year alone, the UK exported £15.6 billion worth of foods and drinks, cars, jewelries, and much more to the UAE. With over 5,000 British companies operating in the UAE and over 4,000 British brands investing in the UAE, it is clear how vital trade links are for British businesses. The UAE, situated at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa, serves as a vital gateway for British businesses looking to expand into these regions. The only way to maximize the benefits of our great relationship is by having a free trade agreement. And unfortunately, as I'm sure you all know, the current government isn't very good at signing those. Over a year ago, the former Trade Secretary announced negotiations that had begun with the GCC, and that he would unlock huge new opportunities for UK businesses. A year later, we're still none the wiser on how this is going, and I do hope that we get there as where the target is. The Labour Party is committed to being pro-trade, pro-business, and pro-workers, and if we are elected to government next year, we will take a lead role in driving exports, negotiating those free trade agreements, and make sure British businesses in every corner of the UK are seeing the economic benefits of better trading relationship. There is so much more that needs to be done to show the world that the UK is open for business and the Labour Party is ready to show we are up for the job. I have a long-standing connections with the GCC and the UAE in particular. So it's a great to be with you all today and to hear more from you about how we can strengthen the trading relationship between Britain and the UAE, something I'm really passionate about. The trade relationship between the UAE and British is a shining example of international collaboration rooted in mutual benefit and shared values. It highlights how two nations with two different strengths and geographic locations can come together to create a prosperous future. As we continue to build on this partnership, it is clear that the UAE and Britain are poised to even greater economic success in the years to come. We just need a government that is focused on doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Afzal. I'm delighted you've been able to join us this morning. And I'm sure colleagues in UAE, as well as ourselves in BCC, look forward to working with you closely in your new and important role. If we move on to the panel session now, so I'm delighted to introduce John Summer, Sawad Al-Hossani, and Rob Bricker. So John is a fourth-generation member of the WTA family business and has been interested in international freight management since being a teenager. And this interest has evolved into a career focused on providing WTA's customers with the highest level of service for logistics solutions. He's worked both in the UK and overseas, having spent 5 years in the US setting up and developing WTA's US office. And most recently, John and his family have moved to Dubai to establish the WTA's office there. Today, he serves as co-CEO, helping lead the company in becoming a global leader in bespoke logistics solutions. Suad Al-Hossani, prior to joining First Abu Dhabi Bank, held leadership positions at the Abu Dhabi Investment Office, Nexus Group of companies, as well as strategic roles at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Mubadala Development Company, the British Embassy in Abu Dhabi, and the Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank. His involvement with UAE and international government entities and private agencies built experience across strategic business sectors in the country. And she was the recipient of the UN's Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO certificate for successful completion of a capacity building program for women entrepreneurs. And finally, Rob Bricker is the country director for DBT at the British Embassy in Dubai. He joined the embassy in January 2023. He's been responsible for leading the department's efforts in deepening and enhancing bilateral trade and investment between the UK and UAE. Prior to this role, Rob was based in Abu Dhabi, acting as First Secretary, Defence and Security within DBT. And in this role, he led on defence and security exports to the UAE. And prior to that, between July 2012 and June 2018, Rob worked for the UK's Ministry of Defence based in Riyadh. So wonderful panel. Welcome one and all. Looking forward to a terrific discussion here. If I could maybe start first with you, Rob. From your perspective, where do you see as the sectors that we're most likely to see an increase in UK-UAE trade?
I think Khalid has covered some of this, William, but I think it's self-evident to me the investment in renewable energy and the transition that UAE are going through in that area is one of great opportunity, and that they're not at the step one of that. They are many years ahead, and investment into the UK and export from the UK into the UAE to align to that agenda and to try and support the UAE's transition to that renewable market is well advanced. Entities like Masdar, which were referenced earlier, have got a long history with the UK, and we've seen lots of activity through Bilateral and the investment partnership that relates to that kind of renewable agenda. So that, I think, is going to be a clear growth sector for both the UK and the UAE, looking 10, 20, 30, 40 years into the future. So that, for me, is a really clear and obvious direction of travel for both countries and aligning interests. It's a little bit cliche, but you heard from the previous speakers the level of bilateral trade between the two countries. There's opportunities in all sectors, and I do genuinely mean that. But I think if you're going to just cherry pick maybe a couple more, the infrastructure development going on in the UAE from a rail perspective is really quite interesting, and you'd have seen some of the announcements, I think, as well, linking the rail across the GCC or elements of GCC, Riyadh, and up and out and into Europe. Etihad Rail are doing some phenomenal stuff in the country, and lots, again, linked to the sustainable element as well. Lots of the sort of cargo that goes up and down the main road here will transition to Etihad Rail, which obviously take a lot of cargo off the roads and increase the sustainability profile. But it's a big development, it's a big infrastructure project, and so there's lots of opportunities, I think, in that as that continues to grow. And the interesting aspect to that is the connectivity also that gives to other Emirates. So I do think the Northern Emirates, places like Ras Al Khaimah, which is growing quite considerably and has a development path, and a relatively, I think, untapped potential from a UK perspective, although we think we have around 1,500 companies in the economic zone in Ras Al Khaimah, for example, with a UK shareholding, which is probably not known to many. But there's a growing population of companies there, and there's a growing level of opportunity. And I think finally, William, I'd just say that one of the UAE things that UAE do brilliantly is their retention of talent, and the environment for individuals like myself to live in means that individuals that come from other countries often stay for a very long time. And the way I think that is done is through consistent investment in healthcare, consistent investment in life sciences, and consistent investment in the education sector here, of which we think we've got about 14, 15 British universities already present in the UAE. So that education sector and the healthcare sector are those sort of core elements of what makes a country's livability, if you like, for expats and nationals so high is always invested in by the UAE, and I think that will continue for the forthcoming.
Great, thank you, Rob. If I can turn now to Suad. Welcome, thanks for joining us today. What do you see, Suad, are the opportunities for UK companies in terms of investment in construction, infrastructure, and other projects in UAE?
Thank you, William, for giving me the opportunity to be here today with over 15 years experience in foreign direct investment. Prior to joining First Abu Dhabi Bank, I don't know how much I love more the UAE or the UK. Both sits and resides within my heart. And our previous speakers have spoke a lot about the opportunities and the sectors. But as you may see, the UAE as a major market for UK companies in the construction, infrastructure, and other sectors. The UAE government is investing heavily in infrastructure projects, and UK companies have a strong track record of success in the UAE, specifically in the construction sector, including, being from project management consultancies into developers and so on. As of a size of, from a market perspective, the UAE construction market estimated on $38.99 billion in 2023 and is expected to rise up to $49.40 million by 2028. Also, the UAE is not just focusing on a construction perspective, but also on smart cities and planning to digitize to 1,000 government services and install more than 2,000 Wi-Fi hotspots. Moreover, liberal trade policies in the country and attracting investments and boosting the UAE construction market has been a priority. As Rob mentioned, Masdar with its renewable program, as Mr. Khalid mentioned earlier, with COP28 being hosted, a lot of the renewable perspective and energy project has been also a priority from a construction perspective. And we see a huge growth in the coming years, but not also in the construction sector, but there are also other sectors that are important, including healthcare, education, renewable energy, oil and gas, and much more. So we have been seeing a huge bilateral trade between both countries over the decades.
Great, thank you. And now, John, when you're speaking to your many companies and clients, what do you talk to them about as being the sort of the key regulatory and customs considerations when they're shipping goods between the UK and UAE?
Yes, thank you, William. Well, it varies from what they're looking to bring in. But really to give them a better understanding of where they could find the levels of duties that they should expect to pay. Customs duties are 5% of the cost, insurance, and value of the freight, and that's only applicable on shipments above 300 dirhams or £65. VAT is at 5%, which is a bit more competitive than in the UK. But they also impose indirect excise taxes on certain goods, which can potentially be deemed as harmful, and therefore try and look to warrant the amount coming in, and these could include e-cigarettes, energy drinks, and that could be up to 50 to 100% on the value. So it can be quite expensive, but worth putting some time and research into understanding the customs process. Other commodities may need permits, may need to be examined by different government bodies here in the UAE, and that could be ranging from vehicles, food, medicines, alcoholic drinks, and media publications. WTA work with a global hotel group, and we move publications for them for their hotels. And for the UAE, we send sample copies over so customs can have a look at that, make sure that everything is approved before the main shipments come over. So that's part of the planning process that we like to do with our clients. And it's the same with food, making sure the ingredients and the labeling is done correctly to avoid costly wastage or refusal of goods.
Terrific. I'll take the next round of questions in the sort of reverse order. So we'll stick with John and work our way back through the panel. So, John, what would you say is the most cost-effective mode of transportation for goods moving between the UK and UAE? How does transit time vary between the different options which are available?
Well, the main options at the moment are ocean freight, and that is certainly one of the cheaper options, more environmentally friendly options. And with that, you're looking at around 30-day transit time, with some additional time once it's arrived to go through customs and delivered to door. If freight needs to be moved urgently, then we would work with our clients on air freight options. And there it's a lot more costly, but the transit time is a few days, and so forth. Some clients need that option, but on the whole, it's ocean freight.
Great. Suad, if I can turn to you again, there's been a lot of discussion about levels of inward investment into the UK since 2015, 2016, and the period after that. But from the UAE's perspective, how attractive is the UK as a destination for inward investment? And how might we improve and deepen that in the coming years?
Thank you so much, William, for your question. As you may see, and as Mr. Afdal Khan said about the investments that the UAE have been owing in Manchester, there is a lot of other investments that the UAE is looking at. The UK will always remain a very attractive investment destination, especially for this part of the world. And as you may know, it has been ranked as the second by their ability to attract foreign investment as per the records of the EY 2023 attractiveness survey. And also the UK records 929 foreign direct investment project in 2022. There might be certain cases where or incidents that has been happening previously, but as attractive the UAE is for investors, the UK also is an important destination. I might also embed more in the UAE perspective, where it's the gateway for business in the Middle East and not the MENA region and other global markets. We just don't only represent a major access point for foreign investments, but the stable government, increased sophisticated and reliable legal infrastructure, attractive capital markets regime, and the open of flexible commercial environments for foreign investors to 100% ownership has also helped the UAE to be attracted and promoted as an investor destination. So I think it's vice versa. It's both destinations has been so attractive for investments. There are investments in both ways, whether it's financially, whether it's in renewable energy, whether it's Masdar, whether it's into entertainment. We have seen it a lot, and it will remain, I think, increasingly in the region in the coming years.
Great, good bilateral investment possibilities in both directions, indeed. Rob, I was interested in the point you mentioned earlier about this sort of economic transformation, and as we know, part of that's going on in the UK. But is it also your sense that the UAE wants to invest more in science, particularly life science, and also green energy and the sort of technology to assist with the net zero transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's already been evidenced in many ways, William, with the type of investments that the UAE have been making. But I want to pick up on one point around the sort of way we use the term investment. We often talk about investment into the UK, but this is a partnership between the UK and UAE, and actually investment in the UAE and British companies coming and establishing themselves here is equally as important than investment back into the UK in this partnership model. That's what really some of the sweet spots where that obviously aligns, as you say, is in green energy, but also like underpinning science. Absolutely, the research and development infrastructure in UAE is evolving really, really fast. You have the Advanced Technology Research Council run out of Abu Dhabi that has many research centres that sit underneath it, which are very, very impressive in the things that they are doing, with advanced materials to quantum to AI. You sort of name it, really. And also, we've talked about Masdar City a number of times, but that sort of pull through of technology in the UAE, the opportunity for UK innovators to be able to pull through their technology and their ideas quite quickly into an environment is a really interesting dimension to the partnership with the UAE, because the UAE are really at the forefront of that scientific endeavor, and you'd only have to look at the things that's going on in the space sector and the investment UAE have made in that, and some of the scientific endeavors they've been making and continue to make in space, to see sort of evidence of that investment in science and that underpinning research and development. So absolutely, from green energy is the first is the most obvious kind of alignment that people come to straight away. But I do want to emphasize that actually from a science perspective, from an R&D perspective, the UAE investing heavily across the board, and there's lots of opportunities to be a part of that journey.
And is this part of a kind of wider shift, Rob, you would say, towards what we're seeing in the UK, but also with UAE, a shift to a more knowledge-based economy? Is what you're seeing demonstrating that possibility?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I think the beauty of this country is they're really transparent about their visions. So you just have to live here for a week and you see the intent to migrate to that kind of economy. And Abu Dhabi has been an energy-driven economy for a number of years, but the sustainable and the green energy investment is transitioning that aspect to it. But the underpinning technology across the piece and the investment going on there will transform the UAE into that knowledge-based economy. I'm pretty confident of that. They're the first country I'm aware of who appointed a minister for AI, well ahead of anyone else, certainly well ahead of ourselves in that regard, and that was some years ago. So really thinking quite far ahead of the game in terms of artificial intelligence and where that was going to go. So all of these technological investments and developments are part of that knowledge-based economy. But I do come back to what I said earlier as well. The investment in education has been done and continues to be invested in. So the presence of very, very good academic institutions in the UAE. We have University of Birmingham, Heriot-Watt. We have lots of UK institutions here where people can come to Dubai or in Abu Dhabi and get very, very, very.
Thanks, Rob. Well, we got most of that. I'm sure you'll be able to rejoin us in a moment. Suad, we know that the Gulf Cooperation Council has done some trade deals before with other countries, but this is a big moment for it as an organization, dealing with one of the world's largest economies in terms of the UK. What do you think the benefits of a deal, if one emerges, would be in terms of that UK-UAE relationship?
So you know that the UAE-UK economic relationship is a long-standing and mutually beneficial one. The two countries have a shared interest in promoting trade and promoting investment, and they have worked together on a number of important initiatives, such as the development of the renewable energy and also the fight against climate change, as mentioned by my esteemed panelists. As you know also, William, the UAE is currently the UK's largest trading partner in the Middle East through goods and services, knowledge exchange, talent exchange, and much more. And it also has the main UK exports to the UAE, includes machinery, transport equipment, and much more. There is a lot of UAE-UK trade agreements that have been signed, and I'm sure those initiatives will be even greater and greater. A UK GCC deal holds the potential to significantly boost trade and investment between the UK and the GCC countries. And by removing trade barriers and fostering a favorable business environment, both economies stand to gain substantially. Specifically, a UK GCC deal could open up, opportunities and even greater opportunities for UK companies in the UAE, and in various sectors and across the whole UAE, and also where those companies could have the UAE as their hub, and then trade all over the GCC market. There are all entities all over the GCC and promotion agencies that could support and assist investors who would like to expand to the UAE, and also our embassies abroad are going to be more than happy to support and assist investors with expanding to the UAE. Myself as a banker now, I'll be more than happy to support and assist investors with expanding and opening their banks needs, and also to help them establish accounts. And we also, as First Abu Dhabi Bank, have a branch in the UK. So whether it's approaching our UK branch or the UAE branch, we'll be more than happy to support the investors and expanding.
Great. And John, we know all about supply chain disruptions, having lived through the COVID-19 pandemic and seeing what that did to global supply chains, and shipping costs went very high for quite a period. So what strategies do you think we can employ to minimize supply chain disruptions, such as customs delays or unexpected logistical challenges which arise?
Well, I think is not to rush in. When you're looking at going into a new market, you need to do your research. You need to understand the customs regulations for the products that you're looking to move. You need to work with a logistics company that understands the market you're looking to get into, and work with that partner throughout the supply chain. Depending on what you're looking at, is it just from your facilities to port, or are you looking to move it all the way through to door? Who's taking the responsibilities, the risks on that, depending on the terms of sale? And then work with your logistics provider, as I've mentioned before, on the mode of transport. If it's ocean freight, are you looking for a carrier that will have a direct sailing, or will it be transshipped at a lower cost, but there's more risk of delays and uncertainty on hitting certain deadlines? So it's really, like I say, it's just the planning and time needed to take when looking at the big step of expanding into a market. And there's plenty of opportunities, as my fellow panelists have been saying, into the UAE and GCC markets here. Once the goods come into the UAE, then they can move throughout the GCC without further duties. So the attraction there is to get it here, and again, work with a company that understands and uses the logistics services throughout the GCC states.
Terrific. I was always going to ask you as well, John. I mean, we hear a lot about technology and tracking systems. We know the UK is preparing to launch a single trade window, probably first roll out next year. So how can technology and tracking systems enhance the visibility and traceability of goods that would be moving between countries such as the UK and UAE?
Well, the majority of logistics companies now will offer full visibility products where you can see where your goods are at any one time. And that is key to understanding where you're able to track your goods, communicate with your clients to make sure that they're on time, or if there's delays, to notify them. However, it's the data behind this that's really essential. To benchmark with transit times based on specific carriers you may work with your logistics company, cost analysis with air freight, ocean freight, what carriers are used in that sense. Tracking your CO2 emissions. Again, we're talking quite extensively about renewables, and CO2 emissions is of massive importance to businesses now. So you need to have that data behind to look at how to reduce that on an ongoing basis. Look at how you're storing important documents, the bills of lading, invoices, manifests, all should be uploaded onto these platforms. And then to look at the analysis behind the costs. Look at how you can get a cost per item, a landed cost per item. So all of this allows you to, as I say, create a benchmark, but then look at forecasting models for ongoing success and improvements and growth into these new markets.
Great. If I can go back to you, Rob, just for a final question for you. We know that UK companies are very keen in terms of increasing their footprint and trade and presence in UAE. So what can they do, and how can DBT help them to improve these links and make them even stronger?
Thanks, William. Very brave coming back to me after my connectivity issues, but hopefully this lasts this time. So I think it's a place where you can do business relatively easy. You know, like the business environment in terms of establishing yourself, and the rules and regulations and the processes are pretty transparent. But that also makes it a competitive environment. So you really do need to do your research. You really need to do your due diligence. You also do need to spend time getting into the market, understanding the market, meeting people, meeting partners, you know, building your network. That's really, really important to do that. You know, to be honest, you know, to give you guys a bit of a plug and my colleagues in UAE, you know, a really good way to do that is through the British Chamber here in Abu Dhabi, or the British Business Group down here in Dubai. You know, lots of British companies are members of that community, and that's actually a really good landing spot for UK companies to build that network and understand the market. It's all part of the picture, if you like. So I think that's the first thing, is really invest time understanding the market and understanding where the opportunity is. In terms of what we can do to support, I mean, obviously I've got a team here at the embassy which goes across the majority of verticals that you can think of in terms of sectors, from energy to defence to healthcare to life sciences. And you know, our job is relatively, well, sounds relatively simple. You know, we are here to support UK companies in those sectors wishing to export to the UAE, but also, you know, to try and support investment opportunities and collaborations and partnerships. There's many routes to access that. You know, one of the routes is for UK companies back in UK is through their International Trade Advisor Network. So the Department for Business and Trade has ITAs dotted around all the regions in the UK. You can Google it, you can find out connectivity into those entities, and that's a really good place for UK companies to get themselves on the radar of the department as being a company who feel they're export ready, and to start that journey of understanding what markets are of interest and are of potential for them. And then you'll work through the process of getting the support that the ITAs can offer through to some of the support that's available at the embassy. We've got a team here that supports small medium enterprises, for example, in terms of assisting in helping link them into partners. Could be company formation partners, could be legal advice, could be whatever really is required, distributors, etc., depending on the sector. So there's lots of things we can do, but I guess my plug is, one, use the British Chamber and the British Business Group. They're a very good source of community. And two, get yourself known to the department in the UK.
Great stuff. Now, we've had some questions come in from participants who've joined this morning. We've had a nice statement from someone running a company called Do Well UX Living Lab, a global UX research team, about how it can enhance brands. So thanks for that. Suad, if I can maybe see if you could address this question from Marcus, who's asking, is there a doorway for trade between UK and UAE in the arts, in products, or specialized franchises? Is this something that the bank has some experience of helping facilitate?
I think, we have as the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, we have the Louvre and we have the Guggenheim coming in, and we have a lot of these amazing, attractive places that will be the best places even for those investors and those people who are into, auctioning paints and trading paints. Therefore, yes, there is the possibility of that. Also, there is services within the banks based in the UAE also that provide services for people who are into art. Therefore, yeah, it's available also in the market, unless someone also from my colleagues wants to add within the panel. Thank you.
Yep, and Khalid has rejoined us. So Khalid, it's interesting. People are looking at sort of creative services now, business services, travel services, as areas for UK businesses to expand their services output. Are these and other areas you think opportunities which could emerge from our closer trade links?
Thank you for the question, William. Well, comparing our services 10 years ago to today, you can say it's advanced at a phenomenal rate. Things have been faster, things have been smoother, and I'm sure my colleague Suad would agree that technology has played a vital role in ensuring that whatever services people may require, whether it's for UK businesses or even for personnel, the UAE has created an environment where things have been super fast. Even here at the embassy, we have been working hand on hand with the UK government in ensuring attestation of documents are done in a specific time, especially for UK companies wanting to opening in the UAE. So going back to your question, I feel that we're in a much better place and we can only get better. And whether you go today or tomorrow, you'll find that the UAE is welcoming. It's opened its doors for all types of businesses. We are progressing in an incredible rate with diverse sectors than compared to 5-10 years ago, and we'll be growing ever more.
Great. And if I can give this one to John, this is Marcus again asking about the arrangements for getting postal and smaller packages from the UK to UAE. So is this something that WTA Group can help with and advise upon?
It's not something we do. We tend to work on larger items, areas of cargo. However, there's plenty of courier companies that are able to facilitate door-to-door moves with small parcels and so on. The speed of courier companies over here is quite extraordinary. So it's easy to set up, and yeah, this, like I say, the transit times are very good.
Great advice there. The final question I want to put to those on the panel who want to address this is obviously looking to the future. We've just had the WTO, World Trade Organization's public forum in Geneva last week. And of course, the World Trade Report was issued as well. And a real warning, I think, for the world that, you know, this risk of sliding back into a sort of new protectionism, you know, seeing tariffs reimposed on imports of goods, and the risk that that could do to both global trade and global growth. Really striking message that came out of that World Trade Report, and also the Secretary General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's speech. Of course, the next big event for the WTO is going to be the ministerial conference in Abu Dhabi, which is in mid-February. And I know we at the BCC are looking very much strongly forward to that. Khalid, I wonder if you want to lead on this, but how do you think that your government and the Gulf as a whole will be able to drive this forward and get to a successful WTO ministerial conference next year?
Thank you for the question, and thank you, William. Well, I mean, this goes back to what we discussed about the free trade agreement. This is quite essential and necessary to happen. At the moment, you can see that the UAE signed its Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, our CEPA, our first ever with India, one of our strongest and longest trading allies in forever. And that took about 90 days to complete. After that, we signed with Israel. After that, we signed with Indonesia. And there are so many potentials to sign this Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with the rest of the world, which would ensure a stronger bond in trading. Now, when it comes with the UK, currently, like I said before, we finished the 4th round in July. The 5th round is going to be in November. So a lot of eyes will be on the outcome of the 5th negotiations of the free trade agreement with the GCC, not with the UAE. But we are hoping that whenever the dates have not been set, but whenever it will be done, the report will play an essential role moving forward to see how can we progress as the UAE and as the Gulf to ensure that the report that has come out from the WTO is not affecting the global trade, especially with the UK and the UAE, in a negative aspect. So when the dates are out, when we know that it is happening, I believe it might be happening in November. I'm not sure. It's not confirmed. No news have come out yet, but we are hoping that there will be a stronger progressive outcome from that negotiation round. And like I said, if we can get something out to the public to ensure them that this is something that we have looked into and is moving towards a stronger trading relationship between the two countries, then I think we are on the right path. So it's all about time. We have to wait and see what's going to happen. And it's I think February is what, like, I think 6 months away. So there's still a bit of time to go. But as you know, negotiations take time. So hopefully the 5th round may be the final round. Hopefully, 6, 7, 8. It's a long process. So we'll hopefully get good results in the next negotiation round. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. And we'll be keeping a very close eye on that. And obviously a very close eye on what happens in the run-up to MC13, really vital event for global trade in Abu Dhabi next February. Well, thank you very much indeed. Thank you to our wonderful speakers, spectacular panelists, very wide-ranging discussion, questions answered very adroitly. Can I also thank our event partner WTA Group once again. Huge thanks once again to British Chamber of Commerce in Abu Dhabi and British Chamber of Commerce in Dubai, and also my other colleagues in London and across the UK who've made this event happen. We look forward to continuing the discussion with you on trade with the UAE here at the British Chambers of Commerce. And again, we look forward to seeing you on the 29th of November. Watch out for the registration details on this 29th of November for our next session, which focuses on UK-US trade. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.